So there are a lot of things you should already know in life, I think, at this point.
Conventional wisdom.
Especially in politics.
Yeah.
And what we're going to be talking about today is some people who, frankly, really should have known better and for some reason didn't. And one of those being Piers Morgan, which we'll get to in a minute, because he's the guy that inspired this, because he did a little sit down with trigonometry, which was interesting, don't get me wrong, but there was something in there that really irked me badly. But we'll start off with something on lotuses.com, being Tucker Carlson's Anglo-Saxon political traditions. This is something that every American should have known. I don't know why this was controversial. I don't know if you remember this saga, but he came out and said that the Americans have Anglo-Saxon political traditions because, obviously, America comes from the Anglo-Saxon world because, they speak English and all that. And he was pilloried for this. They were like, how dare you say such racist things? And I was like, what? Yeah, the white race. Yeah. The only white people on Earth are English. Okay. It was just really funny at the time. But we'll get to Piers Morgan, because Piers Morgan did this sit down. He's there, they put out one clip. This is like the promo clip before they do the full thing. That's coming out at 7 p.m. UK time. I like trigonometry, so I got no problem plugging them. But they had Piers Morgan on, and Piers Morgan, for people who missed it somehow, he was a massive bellend during COVID, specifically. Okay. Well, a lot of other things too, but COVID being a main one. Where he came out and was just like, look, everyone needs to do this and do that, and we need to lock down and blah, 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 and a load of just wrong decisions.
Was it when he was going and doing interviews from psychopaths also?
Psychopaths?
Yeah, I think he has some interviews.
Like he did a psychopath documentary, or what do you mean?
I think so, yeah. He was going around doing, I don't know if it was during COVID, but...
It's just like me. No, but this is a sit-down where he's basically just being like, well, I got all of that wrong. And... okay, people can make up their opinions on him and that part of it. But the thing I found most interesting is when he was talking about what it means to be a journalist. And this is something I really thought everyone should have already known if they were a quote-unquote journalist. I mean, Piers used to work, what was it, as the editor for The Mirror. That ended spectacularly, but whole other story. But we'll play the clip that's of relevance.
Based on a completely erroneous scientific assessment. Now, you might say, well, you shouldn't have said it anyway. I would sort of agree with you.
I would say something else, actually, which is I think that you have a duty to be skeptical. As a journalist, that is your job.
And I've learned a lesson in the pandemic about that. Definitely. Definitely. And I would totally accept that. I think I was too strident anyway. Got too kind of wrapped up in it all. But, I had good reasons for it. I had one of my colleagues at Good Morning Britain, Kate Garraway, her husband was in a coma from COVID. I have 4 or 5 friends and family who lost loved ones, had to say goodbye to their parents on FaceTime in care homes where it had ripped through and so on. So I was very emotionally invested in it. Probably too much so for a journalist. I accept that. But on that key point of the transmission, the scientists then said, a bit later, actually, it turns out there's not much difference between whether you've had the jab or not for transmission. And at that point, I realized everything I've been saying was completely wrong.
That just really weirds me out.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole, I'm wrong now, I've changed my mind thing, and he gives reasons as to why. And as he gives there, I had good reason to promote mad things, which is I was emotionally invested, which I shouldn't have been. I was like, yes, that will completely destroy your reasoning power, in especially political matters. But the best part there is where Constantine points out, you should have been skeptical.
Yeah.
Like when the authority comes to you and tells you this is the case, why would you just immediately trust them?
This is textbook John Locke. You have a duty to be skeptical of your government because unless you do so, the government will show the tendencies of extending its reach.
And I love the idea of what did Piers Morgan exactly think a journalist's duty was? Because
it had to do something with emotion.
But if it wasn't being skeptical and not getting emotionally invested in the story you're covering, which will completely destroy your ability to actually convey information, what did he think being a journalist was?
Yeah, but isn't it about feelings nowadays?
It was pure feels. I had feels, and the state told me something, so I just believed them. I mean, I'm not trying to be too mean, because I'm trying to be reasonable in the sense of trying to take him at his word. But a man who spent, apparently, most of his life in this sphere, endlessly, doesn't understand what a journalist is. At the most, basic levels. Even if you've never taken a journalism class, you should know that. I mean, this is just revealing the standard of people who call themselves journalists, because what does that term mean? Well, these days it means someone who works for corporate media. That's all those people are, frankly. You get independent ones, mostly on the internet. Don't work for corporate media, not in the mainstream sense, in that way. But he was there, and these people are unbelievably mediocre. I mean, really, just don't even think about what they're doing. in the sense of, should I try and be, for example, not emotionally invested? Should I try and be a bit skeptical?
I think most journalists are emotionally invested in what they're doing, and most articles are showing this.
Yeah, but to not take any steps to even try and mitigate that,
Yeah,
it is just mad. Like, it's just really revealing as to the level of individual you actually see on your TV. I mean, this is kind of funny, but my dad was showing the TV once because there was some channel on it spouting bollocks as usual, and I was down visiting because I don't have a TV. They got a TV down at my folks' home, and I turned to him and was just like, "Well, look, think about who this person is," and it just when you sit for a minute, you just realize like, "Oh God." Like the person I'm looking at on the TV really is so goddamn mediocre. If you met them in real life, you'd probably be just appalled that they have a position in which they can talk like that. Because, I mean, with Piers Morgan here, he says in his own terms, like, his behavior was just ridiculous. Just not based on the facts. And didn't regulate himself. There's some other people who have learned what they really should have known already. Hamza Yusuf being the most recent one here, in which you may remember Hamza decided to pass a hate crime bill.
is he the one in Scotland who was saying that unfortunately Scotland is white?
Yes.
He was protesting. He found that abhorrent for some reason.
He did say white rather than white.
Okay.
Incapable, apparently.
Yeah.
But he was very, very upset about that. Don't know what he was expecting to find in Scotland. Presumably, I don't know, Taiwan. But he didn't. And now he has been reported to the police for breaking his own law.
Okay.
In some comments to the trans rapist, the most recent one in Scotland that's got high profile. Unfortunately, in this case, the law hasn't come into effect, so he won't be charged with his own law breaking.
Okay.
But just the same goddamn guy breaking his same law. You may remember this is the law that, what was it? If you have hate speech within your own home amongst your family, even that's a crime, even though nobody else heard it.
And what counts as hate speech?
Did it cause offense?
Maybe. It hurt feelings.
So
it hurt my feelings.
If your little teenage girl who's been to university and now knows so much, I swear, is offended by you saying, yeah, that's not the case. Might have died because of the drugs in his system. I don't know. Yeah, no, that's crime. Okay. But we'll go to Primark. Primark have also learned something they should have known already. They've now introduced women's-only changing rooms.
Okay, yeah.
It's the invention of the century, folks. I know we had invented this last century.
Yeah.
But then we got...
You know why this? I find this incredibly funny because on the one hand, it's obvious what it means. But on the other, I think it's trolling.
You mean like, what do you mean by Primark?
Because, it's obvious that women are biological females, but they're trying to, play along with a game. They try to have a step on both boats.
I mean, there's a funny aspect to this as well, which is, so for people listening, let's sign up in Primark, which is a clothing store. They write, these fitting rooms are for women only. And then below, they have, we also have any gender fitting rooms available for everyone. Please ask. So the men's and the everyone else is one place, and then the women is another place.
You have a non-binary fitting room.
But it's with the men. Interesting. I also just can't get over how I'm sorry I harp on it a lot, but we did a segment about the first ever women's toilet that was invented for public use in Britain, and this is considered like some marvel of the age. Some guy, I can't remember his name, but he was some famous guy.
A wonder of the world.
Yeah, well, he was just like, well, maybe we have a women's loos where they won't get raped. And someone was like, that's a genius idea. And I don't know, they put him on a throne, walked him through London, royal parades, presumably, some other things, and we just completely ignored all of that. I mean, like, we put women in separate prisons for the same reason, but no, we're actually reinventing the goddamn wheel.
It hurts some people's feelings to have them in separate prisons.
Does indeed. There's also some funny aspects about things you already should have known. I found out if you go and check out the DALL-E AI, you can do some funny things, such as I decided to check about the channel migrants. So if you type in refugees crossing the English Channel, even the AI now will just draw men. I mean, very disfigured men, because it's an AI, but I don't notice any women among them, which is good fun. Please do send me any other versions of things you can find from the AI. Looking forward to it. But then we'll go to a main story for me, which I also just grabbed my interest. Minneapolis. City of dreams. City of Floyds. Well, one Floyd. I think that's about all it's known for these days. Is it not in Minneapolis for anything else?
No.
Does anyone?
I don't know.
I think even in the United States, I mean, maybe what they used to call it, Murderapolis? But I think they are again. Anyway, this story here, ex-racial equity director alleges toxic Minneapolis City Hall accuses black leaders of racism. She is black, in case you're wondering. And she's a victim of anti-black racism by a lot of black people.
Can this happen?
I don't know.
Is this supposed to be possible?
If there are no white people in the city, is there still white supremacy? I think yes.
That's it's the ghost that haunts the city. It's the ghost that haunts Minneapolis.
Yeah. I mean, we went over this with Barbados a while back. There's just like,
Yeah.
there is no peace with this thing because in Barbados, 100% of the parliament black, Prime Minister black,
Yeah.
100% of the parliament not also just of one skin tone, all of the same party, literal one-party state, all the left-wing party. And yet they had protesters in the hundreds marching down Barbados screaming, "End white supremacy," because it's
Yeah.
still there somehow.
It's like with the Terry Nichols case, that we had 5 black police officers killing Tyree Nichols, and then it was suddenly, white supremacy. That was the fault. That was what Cory Bush was saying.
Yeah.
And other CRT people.
It is always funny as white supremacy. It's never Asian supremacy. I mean, why not? You got just much evidence. So, but this lady over here, Taisha Green, says City Council President Andrea Jenkins and Council Member Latricia Vitale, both of whom are black, are anti-black. They disagree, writes the outlet. I wonder why. Who could figure that one out? So Minneapolis recently departed race and inclusion director isn't leaving without a fight. Quote, "I'm not anti-black, but I am anti-incompetence," said Jenkins in response. Oof. In her memo dated March 6th, Green, the alleged victim of anti-black racism by black people, states that what I have experienced here is, in fact, anti-black racism, and that some of that racism was done at the hands of other black people in this enterprise. So she's not even ignorant. She didn't write this being like, I was a victim of racism and then found out, oh crap, they're all black. Like, no, she sat there and went, yes, all these black people hate me because I'm black.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the excuse of the times.
She continues that having been, quote, in the belly of the beast for nearly a year. Yeah, that's right. She's been a member of the Klan, fighting it from the inside, brother. She knows all their dirty secret meetings where they Heil Hitler every evening. I think at the end of every council meeting. Minneapolis holds, matures, coddles, perpetuates, and massages a racist anti-work culture. She couldn't just pick
come
one.
on. I mean, this is it gets very boring. Everything is described as racist. Everything is described as hurting people's feelings. I mean, we can't go forward this way.
I don't think well, I'm impressed by it. She's not even sitting there being like, well, it's racist, minimal effort.
Yeah.
What's the point? I'm going to get a payout, so I'll just do the thing that we all know will get pays. But she's like taking on as some kind of creative writing class. She's like, it's not just that the Minneapolis city holds racist culture or something. She holds, matures, coddles, perpetuates, and massages racist culture. It's like, really? Oh yeah, they make cups of tea of anti-black racism? Do they sing lullabies of anti-black racism in their culture? Or whatever. But let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? Because as mentioned, the city of Floyd's, as it I think will eternally be known at this point, had that George Floyd thing that happened. And, well, what happened afterwards? Minneapolis lawmakers vowed to disband police department in historic move, reported The Guardian 2 years ago. You may remember, the whole defund the police thing was actually like the moderate of the movement. The radical of the movement was disband the police. It wasn't even defund, it completely get rid of. Which, of course, defund also had on their ballot paper in their mind, but at least getting rid of most of their money isn't just cancel the police. Which, when you put it like that, just sounds even more retarded than whatever.
Yeah.
Just, what a time to be alive. You can see here, this was city council members. So the city council of Minneapolis 2 years ago were like, yeah, we're going to disband the police department.
Were they organizing the kneeling sessions after this? I think so.
Maybe, because, I mean, as she says, she's been in the belly of the beast for years, and she's seen the holding, the maturing, the coddling, the massaging, and the perpetuation. And, I don't know, cups of tea making of anti-black racism. So presumably after they said they were going to disband the police, they then went and, I don't know, knelt on some black people's necks.
Yeah.
For fun. It's just what Minneapolis City does. Well, in July 2020, they actually did manage to move $1.1 million away from the police. So they did actually try to defund the police. Apparently they had to pass a law to do this directly. So instead, they started just siphoning money off from other programs.
How is this supposed to help people? How is this supposed to protect them?
Because they's racist.
Yeah.
So we've taken $1 million away from...
I don't think you need to say anything else.
Well, Mr. Racism, we've taken $1 million away from him, and we've given it to Mr. Anti-Racism. You want to hear what Mr. Anti-Racism does?
Is it the candy dude who can't define racism?
sadly. But I mean, someone should write a Mr. Men book series out of all this. So the committee approved an amendment to move the $1.1 million from the police department to the health department. Okay, maybe they're going to fund heart disease?
At least they understand that with fewer policing, there's going to be more crime and more injuries and more people. That's some...
No. What we're going to do is we're going to send the doctors out to the streets.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding. They say they move the money in order to fund civilian violence interrupters.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I don't know, like, how does that stop violence?
Like being a doctor in a war zone.
They're going to turn up and debate the guy with the gun. The only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is a good debater.
Yep.
With no gun. Okay. Destiny, you're up, bro. Like, you've got to be thrown into the ring. But then in December, they also figured out how to move apparently $8 million. So over a series of Floydian months, they decided, well, we'll just move about $8 million away from the police. So they did actively defund the police. They weren't able to disband it.
Yeah.
So there you have it. But then they put the whole police department budget to a vote in 2021.
That makes zero sense. It just shows that that many people want to see society burn. They don't care about policing.
They've got a full costed plan, Stelio. So they're not just madmen. They want to replace the city police department with the public safety department.
What is this?
I don't know.
Yeah. What is this?
Because any of the parts of policing, such as, law enforcement, deterrence, the use of force, etc., were all defined as racist things, in which case whatever this public safety department would do, presumably it's on the same as what were they called? The violence interrupters.
I think it sounds like a mob, but I don't know if it is.
I don't know. I think we're gonna fund a lot of left-wing guys who are gonna run down to a neighborhood. Don't say which neighborhood. And when they find some guy shooting a pregnant woman in the stomach and then her head, he will go and try to disrupt the violence with interpretive dance. Yeah, funnily enough, even 56% of the public in Minneapolis voted against that because they were like, "Well, that's retarded."
Yeah.
Like I might be an insane person who lives in an insane city, but I'm not that insane because I got to be honest, 56% is not high enough. I mean, these people...
It's low for this.
Yeah, I mean, massive Democrat place, so, I mean, not unexpected, large outbreak of mental illness, but not even for the mentally ill, this was too far, it seems. So we go to local Democrats who now suddenly think this is all a bad idea as well in the state. Even Democrats are now admitting defund the police.
Now they found out it's a mistake.
Yeah, in 2021, they were like, hang on a minute. Now that we polled the public, and even they think we're mad.
Yeah.
In Minneapolis... should probably stop that. And of course, well, a lot of people had to die to teach the college degree holders that maybe this was bad. If we go to CNN, my favorite Donald Trump favoring outlet, they write in here, in 2020, the number of murders soared to nearly 80, dwarfing the 2019 body count of 46. This is almost double. Great. It has cooled somewhat this year. Oh, great. Although the amount of killing and violent crime in general remains elevated far above the 2019 levels, and homicide is on pace to surpass the 2020 figure. So we've got more than double murder in the next year there.
What a surprise.
Well, CNN right. The reasons why are far from clear.
Yeah, the hell they are.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that these lessons are costly.
Something happened in 2020. Minneapolis.
There's a question as to what are these people reading and learning in the universities that give them their public administration degrees, or the politicians that they get elected and they put forward an agenda like that.
Well, I mean, they've read a lot of things. I think I've told you before. You know about the chicken paper?
No, I don't.
All right, if you go and type in chicken paper, it should turn up. There was a guy, he wrote a academic paper. Every single word is replaced with the word chicken. And there are loads of graphs and things of chicken against chicken over chicken.
Yeah.
And you see the points that are all labeled chicken, chicken, chicken. So you could spend your entire life telling me you've written academic papers. I mean, it's about as useful as the chicken paper in regards to actually dealing with these problems. But we'll get back to the story, because this is the thing that everyone should have already known, which is this lady, waste of money. Your director of equity and inclusion, or whoever cares what title she gives herself. Like, obviously, just grifter. Like, the job means nothing. It is just a way to sit around stealing cash, in my opinion.
Why did they put belonging now? Wasn't it supposed to be diversity and... Yeah.
I have no idea.
Whatever.
You belong in the new order.
Yeah.
Her last day, on March 13th, followed weeks of scrutiny surrounding her planning of the city's inaugural Black Expo. Dude, where's this going? And the allegedly false statement she made about it. The February 24th event fell far short of Green's hoped-for attendance of 20,000 people, and left some vendors feeling let down. What the hell is a Black Expo? Is what I thought looking at this. I don't actually understand what this meant to be. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking of like a Key and Peele sketch. But let's take a look at the next link, so we could see it. There you are. That's what it is. It's a bunch of people with Pan-African nonsense. Well, let's just put it frankly. American Pan-African nonsense. Where they're just like, yeah, we was Africans. That's why I've got a pharaoh symbol. So you don't know anything about Africa. You just found some symbols. I mean, I bet these people couldn't even tell you the difference between East and West Africa or North or South. But there's just like, yeah, my homeland. If you scroll down a little bit, we can see this stall there that just has Black Lives Matter painted over a Pan-African flag, which is hilarious, as we pointed out before, because, you know, the Africans were the slavers. So whatever.
Can there be a white expo or not? Maybe a question we should ask.
The Minneapolis White Expo. I bet it could get more attendance than the Black Expo did.
Yeah.
Because they say in here that they inaugurated the I Am My Ancestors' Wildest Dreams Black Business Expo. That is the real title they used.
Okay.
So they are actually doing the ancestors meme. They set aside $400,000 for this, and then had to double it because there wasn't enough money to rent a hall. 400 grand. Sorry, no, 800 grand now we got to spend. I think it went up to 900,000, they said in the video there. And it turns out this lady who has wasted all that money and then wasted her own salary, and we really should have known, don't hire these people. What the hell's wrong with you? Defund the police. What the hell's wrong with you? What do you think was going to happen?
There are better things to do with $800,000.
Burn it.
Invest it.
Burn it. No, literally burn it, because the vendors who turned up spoke about the fact that the wasted time they had to deal with this expo. On average, the vendors lost $2,000 each.
Okay.
Literally, if they had sat at the council and just burnt the money to keep warm, would have made everyone in the city better off, especially the black community there, as they would say.
Imagine the kind of existential dread when you burn money and then you realize that you could have done better things with it.
I don't trust that they could have, because we gave them it and they didn't. At least the council didn't. We'll get to the back to the story, though, because it turns out apparently she's not the first person to should have taught them a lesson. Some sentiments in green, the lady who was whining, memo echoes thoughts expressed by the former city workers of colour as well. Her predecessor, for example, Joy Marsh, who previously held the title of Race and Equity Director. I mean, I'm going to stop a minute, just be like, Zafura of the Race and Equity. Sorry, but it just makes me laugh. In May, Marsh penned a public letter alleging that during her year-long tenure, she and other non-white workers were subjected to gaslighting, marginalization, and tokenism in an organization that is built upon policy and practice that centers whiteness.
You know, honestly, I find this very boring and annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if these two can go together, but
I love it.
I mean, no, honestly, what is it? It's annoying.
But I find that amazing, because you've got this council in particular, the city hall here, who are just nuts. So I mean, maybe that explains it. And we've gone through some of the history with Floyd, of course. But they had one lady turn up and be their furor of race and diversity, and she, turned around and sued them for all being racist. Yeah. So they hired some other lunatic, and she turned around and sued them for all being racist. When the reality, of course, was they were both just useless and incompetent. I mean, she wasted 800 grand on renting a hall. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you steal it, maybe that'll work. But other than that, seriously, just burn it. It'll be better. And one other thing with the AI, you can just look up head of diversity and quality there. And I don't know about you. I can already hear just them saying to me, some people have been complaining about things you have said in the workplace. Go to hell. Don't want to listen to it. But anyway.
What about the bottom row in the middle? What is the background? Is it like a saint
the Virgin
in
Mary
the making
over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how they think of themselves.
Or this just tiring bureaucracy.
But the thing being, a bunch of examples of things people should have already known. Piers, you should have known what journalist is. A real weird thing for the end of your career to figure out what that is. And apparently, according to your own words. And in regards to Minneapolis, get what you deserve. If you appreciated that episode from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium hangouts, this episode on How Do We Save England. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.